The Spectra Video Hardware, Part 1. Spectra Video, originally Spectra Vision, produced a variety of hardware from popular software, joysticks to home computers, with its main computer releases occurring between 1983 and 1986. 1982. The Quickshot 1 joystick, one of the world's first ergonomic joysticks. Its commercial success helped fund the company's move into computer manufacturing.
1982. The Quickshot 1 joystick.
The Quickshot 1, launched by Spectra Video in 1982, was revolutionary as the first ergonomic joystick, featuring a unique contoured grip, dual buttons, and suction cups, becoming hugely popular across Atari, Commodore, MSX, Amiga, and Sega systems before the brand was acquired by Bonwell, leading to numerous variations and widespread success despite its fragile, clicking microswitches.
Quickshot's history and origin.
Developed and patented in 1982 by Harry Fox and Peter Law for Spectra Video, or SVI as it was known as, Quickshot's innovation introduced to the world for the first time an ergonomic joystick design, thus replacing the blocky controls of the time with its molded hand grip.
Quickshot's compatibility.
Quickshot uses standard D9 connector, making it compatible with major 8-bit computers and consoles like the Atari 2600, Commodore 64, Amiga, MSX, and Sega. This design featured dual fire buttons, one on the stick and one on the base, and also included stabilizing suction cups on the base. Quickshot's innovation and evolution led to its success and to a massive range of Quickshot models, 2, 3, Maverick, etc., expanding into PC accessories and even handhelds, thus selling well into the millions of units. Quickshot became an iconic controller in defining the 8-bit gaming era, and thus cements its legacy, though its one flaw was its fragile microswitches that often broke and required frequent replacement.
The Quickshot brand journey.
Spectra Video faced financial issues leading up to 1985, and by late 1985, its manufacturing partner Bonwell took control of Spectra Video and Quickshot, then shifting focus to the popular Quickshot brand of accessories. Bonwell eventually renamed itself to Quickshot Limited, thus solidifying the brand's dominance in the controller market through the late 80s and early 90s.
Hi, and welcome to my new channel, Dave's Home of Spectra Video. This is going to be an ongoing series where I go through the hardware that I physically own in the Spectra Video line, and I give you a bit of a history of its release dates and what it's meant to do. Some of it I can't physically show you because I don't have it. I have most stuff, there's just some stuff I do not have, and it's a matter of trying to get a hold of it. So anyway, welcome along, and this is part 1, and this is on Spectra Video joysticks. So we will now switch over and carry on with an in-depth look at the Quickshot. Welcome to the bench. This is where I do most of my work on repairs and stuff like that, to do with Spectra videos and other retro hardware. So this is where we're going to see the teardown of the machines, what's inside them, what they do, and any of that information that might be useful. So this Spectra Video joystick was originally started with the version 1. As you saw in the video, this was the first one they released, and what we'll do is we'll open this up so you can see inside of it. But they also made a lot of others in their journey. I don't have them all here with me at the moment, but I do have a selection. We have the Swift or Switch Joy, this is quite a common one people saw. And it was a dual button, top and bottom, but in these early models they were wired together, whereas on these they were two independents. Then came the later model Mark II of the Quickshots, which was this one here, slightly bigger, squarer, and still a dual button, but a nicer one to use. And then they progressed on to the later models, which is more getting into a flight stick mode type, and again standard 9-pin as all these were. and then they came up with automatic repeat switch for repeated firing. A little button on there, the one on the top, and the one under here. And this one came with the red base, and it does have a switch on the base. I'd have to put my eyes on to tell you what it says. And this one was for CPC 464 switch on it, so you could switch it from normal over to Amstrad, and then it would be an Amstrad compatible joystick. Some of the old systems weren't compatible with these, and you could get adapters to put on your machine, so they ran these standard style of joysticks. The other type, and getting later on, they had the handheld navigator style, and these were a single button on a single hand and a joystick on the top, and you had a switch here, and I think that was for selecting the speeds. I'm not 100% sure on this. There were those, and then there's the same sort of one, but had the button on the side, and then this was a thumb joystick, and the single button was on the side. These were meant to be made more ergonomic, so you could hold on to them and do that sort of thing. Very bulky in the hand. And again 9-pin, and they also built some very unusual type joysticks, and there was this one, and there was another model to this which actually had a keypad in here and a piece on the side, and they were made for the ColecoVision, and they had the keypad the same as the Coleco keypads had, and you could slide the overlays in them and use them as a standard Coleco joystick, or you could use them as a standard Spectra video joystick. And these are not easy to get. The keypad ones are harder to get. They're getting quite hard to buy. The keypad ones. I do have one. It's away in a box somewhere, and I can't remember where I put it. But yeah. So and these were some of the sort of weird and wonderful ones they built. And there are others that they built going along, and maybe a couple of those will sneak into here along the way at a later date. So most of these are very similar internally, except for the ones that might have an extra switch on them. They may have a little bit of logic inside to change things. But most of these were all micro-switched internally. So what I'll do is I'll move these out of the way, and we'll open up a Mark 1 and a Mark 2. And we will see how they look. Okay, looking at the Mark 1 joystick, as I said, it's 2 fire buttons. It has 4 screws, one under this sucker, one under that sucker, and then the 2 that are there. They are standard Phillips screws, so let's get a standard Phillips head out. And we'll undo it. As I said, there's very little to these. The switch in the stalk is you undo the 3 screws up the side, and it's a little circuit board at the very top, which we can have a look at that as well. And these just screw straight into plastic. They don't go into metal or anything like that. So. Okay, let me take the bottom off, and that's right, now I remember. So that's 2 screws, that's the 3rd one, and the 4th one. That's, I remember now, these were, you had to take this off to take the joystick apart. So we'll take these 3 out. And just how tight these screws are, I don't think this has ever been undone. Okay, and then that, when that's done, one side will come off. Lay that down, and that's our joystick. It has a spring on it to make it bounce, but it just pushes down onto a connector. Then we slide that out of this side. This just pops off, and inside here it's plastic with a metal piece on it. And what happens is that when that goes down with the spring, and as you can see in the top there, that flares out like a star. And so the spring sits on that star, and then the pin connects to the spring, and then when you push this down, it connects from the outside to the inside. And what they've done is they've put a bit of tape across here so you couldn't short these accidentally. So it's only when you're pushing this down and you're touching the center one is when it makes contact. But as you can see, these do get very, very grubby, and this one probably could do with a good clean. So then what we do is that side just pops off, and that has the posts on it, which slide through the shaft that the other side screws onto to hold it steady. So we'll just put those bits there so we don't lose them. And now what we can do is lift the top of this up, and that'll all go through the hole and out. And these get a bit dirty in the inside from the top of this pad. So the other thing you've got to watch on these is that some of these will break, and I don't want to pull this all off, but I'll see if I can get it up enough so you can see it. So that's the other button. It's the same as the top one. It works on that little shaft. And as you can see on here, these early ones were just metal bent up at right angles. That's all they were. They were just like metal bent up at a right angle. And so when you tilted this switch right or left, it actually pushed and made contact. And the same on this side, same as backwards and forwards. These Mark 1s, these earlier Mark 1s, are better quality. The later ones that came up, and we may see that in this one, they used those little round bubbles that went across the tracks, and you push down, they would dome. You push down, they made contact when you pushed them up and down. They clicked in and clicked out and clicked in. They broke a lot more than these early ones did. This is a slightly better design. And those were obviously for extra connections that weren't used, because not all the pins in the 9-pin plug are wired up. So it looks like someone's been in here playing around with it, because one of the fire buttons is different. So there's a pin actually missing off one of the fire buttons here for this one down here. So it's obviously wired how they have it on the board here. It's been wired from this one through to this one. So they both do the same. What you'll find is that when these are made into a dual fire button, that pad will be taken out down here. That pad will be taken out, and then that becomes an individual joystick fire button, and that. And that's how easy it is. You could do that. You have to find out what pin in here is the right one for the second joystick button. Once you find out which one that is, if you don't have it on this cable, you can buy the plugs with the cables pre-made. You can get them online from AliExpress or places like that. And you can even get one which has got all the pins, so it's all got all 9 pins wired in it. And just make sure you know which pins go and where, and wire in the pins you need, not the ones you don't. So you'd put in your second fire button plus all these ones that are normally on here, and then you'd have a dual fire button joystick. As I say, it is fairly easy. This probably could do with a really good clean. I'm not going to do it right now, but what we can do is we can pop the board up, and under the board this is a spring. This is a metal spring that's under here, and that's what the joystick shafts wobbles around on, and that the wires for the button goes through to stop them getting chafed and broken. And as you can see, that's the wiring that comes under here, out the side to the joystick cable. So we'll pop this back down. It has locators for it to sit in, and as I say, later on I'm going to have to get into here and give this a good clean. When you put these back together, the posts have a notch in either end, And that just depends on which way around you're putting it on, whether you put it on that way or that way. The holes will line up the same no matter what, but these are just locators to make sure it's in the right place. This one has the screw that goes up through there is its other locator, because there's one there, one there, one there, one there that comes through the bottom, the screws. So one of the screws is used as a locator. And as I said, that's our spring, goes inside our button, and that goes over the top of that, so that when that goes down, that makes contact. And as you can see, the spring sits on the outer circle, and that dome, when the spring goes in there, when it goes down, it makes contact in the middle, which makes the circuit. So when that goes down, that makes a circuit, and the spring lifts it up again. Very, very simple design. That's why they were so popular and so easy to use and to make back in the day, as there wasn't much to them. They did make them simpler, as I said, and hopefully we'll see that in the Mark II when they started cost cutting and making them cheaper. So I'll just pop this through here and get this out of our way. So I don't want to lose the bit, so that's why I'm putting it back together, guys. And what I'll do is I'll just drop one of these in here to hold this, because I am going to take it apart and give it a good clean anyway. And it's just basically isopropyl and some cotton buds, all you need to use. So I'll put this one aside, and what we'll do is we'll now look at the Mark II. And as I said, the Mark II looks a bit different, a bit more stylish for the time. And these ones had the auto fire option on the back, so you can turn it on or off. And that just meant that you didn't have to keep pulling the trigger all the time. You just switched that on, and it had I think it's a flip-flop, and it just switched backwards and forwards, so that the one button was on auto fire. And I can't remember if it's the button 1 or button 2 on these that was auto fire, but one of them was. And the same as the Mark I, we've got to take the handle off to get the base off. And again, we just gently pop this off. Because this has got the dual buttons in the top, we just got to be careful that we don't lose them. And as you can see, this is actually a single fire button only, because the two wires come up through the shaft here to this board, and then they daisy chain to this board. So both of these fire buttons do the same job. Now if you want to turn this into a dual fire button one, same thing, just find another couple of wires, run them up through here, and bring them up and around and solder them to the top one and make it into a dual fire button. These ones you've got to be careful, because they have a brass pin that holds these two buttons in, and they have a spring between the two of them to keep them out, so when you push them down they spring back up again, and same as the front one. So you just got to be careful with these, that doesn't fire out and you lose the spring or the brass pin. But it isn't the end of the world. You could make something up that would do the job. So what I want to do is I just want to pop this out. They just slide into little holders that are in here that keeps them aligned. And what I will do is I'll just slide the handle cover back over that, just so I don't lose them. And it'll just stop them coming out. And I'll just put one screw in there just to make sure that doesn't come apart and end up all over the place. So, and then the same as with the other Quickshot, it's very similar in the base. And as you can see, this one's a Spectra video one as well. And this must have been, I think, when Bondwell was involved with them, because it had the patent pending on it, whereas the original designers and makers of them had the patents for them. So whether it was to a point where they were hedging their bets whether nobody else would put a patent in on it, I don't know, or whether they were waiting for their patents to come back. Is anybody's guess. I don't know that legal side of things, so yeah, sorry. Right, there we go, and the same as with the other one, just gently lift the top up. And with these ones, the boards actually sit in the top and the base comes away from them. And as you can see in this, it's a little bit different. It's been a bit wet. You can tell because the spring's gotten a little bit corroded in there, so it does need a bit of a clean up. But inside here, this is for the auto switch. And a couple of transistors, a capacitor, some resistors. And this is the way they went to doing it, so they could make them for different systems. They had it so it was a clip-on connection, which the Model 1 was very close to it, but they'd done this so they can get all these made at a cheaper manufacturer, and then they just got all the cables and just plugged them all in. But we'll gently take this up, because of the switches on the side here. Now I think that, I have to pry that off. Yep. And that just pops off a bit. And then we lift that up, and then that's the switch block there. And that just pops in through a couple of pins in the front. And this was, no, this must be the earlier one too, because this one has this style of button on it. And I must see if I can find one of those ones and show you. I may have to do it at a later date and show you the difference in them. But yeah, so these were the way they were made, where they just clip onto the edges here and the spring. That needs to be CRC'd to. It's not even springy anymore. It's actually quite hard. That should actually be quite loose, so it can move around easy. So that needs to be cleaned up a bit anyway. Oh, this was the type of switch I was talking about. These ones. These little dome type ones. And it's like a little metal dome over that round target style one on here, like on these. Underneath that is a very similar one to this. But instead of using the big spring and the plastic button on it, with the piece inside, they've gone to just these domes. And then when you push that down, that dome you can hear it, just hear it clicking there. And that's what they did with them. And these broke. These used to split, and when they split, they were no good. And it was like trying to find another one. You had to butcher another joystick to actually get some more. So this one needs a bit of work as well, guys. So I need to give that a good of a clean. But that's the inside of the basics of the Spectra video joysticks. So thank you again, and until our next video, I hope you have a great day. Bye.